Hey, Jules. Just wanted to share something with you guys briefly today. I hope that you're having a wonderful Tuesday. And so last week when I filmed the devotion, if you watched it, I was at the barn and we were waiting on Violet to have a calf. So Violet did have her calf. She had it on late Saturday night. But Violet had a really hard time having the calf. And as you guys know, my ear is always turned towards the Lord, and I'm always just thinking, trying to think spiritually and things. And so I began to think about how there were some other heifers recently that had calves on our farm, and they just had their labor was so easy, but for her it was not easy. It was difficult. And so, how many know that spiritually we find ourselves, there's different birthing seasons spiritually. Some seasons just feel like you just step right into something and God does this new thing. And then other seasons, it's like you've had to grab a hold and push and pull and grab a hold of everything you know to try to make it through. And it just seems more difficult to birth that spiritual thing has been inside of you, that the Lord is taking you to a new place. And so as I begin to think about that, I just thought about how important it is for us to really push one more time, to keep pushing, to not give up in the middle of your spiritual labor. And so Violet had a struggle having this calf. She had a pretty good sized calf. She was actually bred to a beef bull because she couldn't get bred artificially. And so sometimes dairy cattle, if they have beef calves, they can be a little bit larger boned, a little bit bigger boned, and sometimes that can happen. And so she had a struggle in having this calf. And it took my dad and Chad to both help her. Sometimes you're going to have to help we're going to have to help each other push a little bit. Sometimes there's going to be moments where you're going to have to step in and help somebody else. They may be pushing. See, she was pushing, she was trying, she was doing her part. But my dad and Chad had to step in to help her, to help ease things, to help her go along. Now, I don't believe in carrying someone else 24/7. I don't believe in babying someone else 24/7. I don't believe that's the way God intended for things to be. I believe we're to have compassion. I believe we're to have love. I believe we're to lift each other up. Proverbs 17:17 says, a friend loves at all times. We're to love, but sometimes we have tough love. But I believe that if I'm struggling and I'm pushing, though she was doing her part, she was still doing her part, and she still had to have some help, right? And so it's not someone else's responsibility to push me. It's not someone else's responsibility to carry me all the time. I am responsible for my own fire. I am responsible for my fresh oil. I am responsible for my communion. There may be times that I'm doing, and God will send someone else in to push me a little bit, to help me a little bit because I'm struggling. Although I'm still pushing myself, I'm still going on. Does that make sense? We don't need to ask each other to do it for us as long as we keep moving our feet. Now, there may be times that the strides aren't very big. You're barely scooting one foot in front of the other. But as long as you're moving, that's the right thing to do. And so sometimes, Jules, it will take each other to help push a little bit, to help pull a little bit. And that's what we're there to do. And sometimes these seasons will be difficult. There will be a spiritual birth that you are trying to finish on out, and you feel like, God, I can't do this anymore. How am I going to do this? How much more can be put on my plate? But the Lord would say, push one more time. Keep going, keep moving. You can't stop in the middle of your spiritual labor. You've got to get to the promise. Come on, ladies, when we're in labor, we know there's no going back. It's here. It's time. We have to push on for the prize. We have to push on for the blessing. And so in Philippians 3 and verse 12, it says, not that I have already obtained or am already perfected, but I press on that I may lay a hold for which Jesus Christ has also laid a hold for me. He did it for us. He did the ultimate sacrifice. Now it's our opportunity and our time to step in and walk out what he has for us. And brethren, I do not count myself to have apprehended, but one thing I do, forgetting those things which are behind and reaching forward for those things that are ahead. I press toward the goal for the prize of the upward call of Jesus Christ. Ladies, when we're in the middle of labor and having a child, we're not looking backwards. We're not worrying about what would have been, what could have been, what should have been, what we didn't do. That's not the moment to think about that. The moment in the spiritual labor is to think forward for the call. I'm going through this. This is happening to me, but I'm not going to look back this way, but I'm looking I'm pressing towards the mark of the high calling because of what he did for me. I want to continue to move forward. God is trying to birth something in me, and I don't want to miss that. I want to stay back here when he's calling me to go up there. And I think about some of this, the spiritual labor processes that I've went through in my life. And thank goodness I pushed through one more time, because it took me to a whole different place with the Lord. I couldn't stay back there forever. I'm ready to go forward. And although there were times I literally didn't think I could make it, I literally was like, this is not fair. Why is this happening to me? We get woe is me, woe is me. But remember Job, in all of this, he did not, he did not get mad at the Lord, and he did not sin. So come on, ladies, I want to encourage somebody today to press forwards in your spiritual labor, because some of these spiritual labors, some of these spiritual birthings and seasons of life that we go through are going to be harder than others. There are some heifers, like I said, that just had calves in my barn, that it was easy. It was like they pushed a few times and the calf was out. It wasn't a big deal, but she struggled. It took some time. She had to keep pushing. She had to, it was tough, but she eventually held on, birthed the calf, and life came about. She saw the fruit of her womb. And so spiritually today, I just want to encourage somebody to press one more time, push one more time, because you have got to press towards the mark of the high calling. Press towards the goal, which is Jesus Christ, of the calling, what he's called you to do, how he's called you to live. And so just be encouraged today and be reminded that the spiritual birth that's coming, whether it's been an easy one, whether it's been a hard one, press forward, push one more time, keep going. Don't get stuck in your mess. Don't get stuck in your feelings. Don't get stuck in your situation. It will stretch you for a time that God has called specifically for you for such a time as this. And be encouraged and be reminded that sometimes we may have to help each other help themselves. Sometimes I may have to push you all a little bit. Sometimes you may have to push me a little bit. But as long as we keep moving one foot in front of the other and press towards him and press towards what he's called us to do, the spiritual baby, the spiritual birthing will be absolutely amazing. Nothing like it. Because just like natural labor, just like the labor that we go through, ladies, I don't really remember it. It's weird how you don't really remember so much of the pain. Like, it was painful, it was hard, but you really don't. That doesn't matter when you see the face of your child. It doesn't matter. And so it's the same thing spiritually. When you get to this next place and you see what God's doing and what he's done and how he's transformed you and how he's answered what you have sought him for, and how he changed you and changed your heart and your mind through this spiritual journey and this spiritual birthing, all of that hard stuff back there won't matter, because you have a testimony. You have something to say for him. Have a wonderful day, ladies.